Starting a new tape where we left off. I think I was describing the rod ends where we're going to do a little blacksmithing. Just going to heat the end to a cherry red, take it over to our semi-anvil with a ball peen hammer and start massaging this edge down and this edge down. Massage it down, reheat, massage, reheat until you get a taper, something like that. Hope we can see it. Once that's in there, then we'll heat it, let it cool down slowly. Then the next step is take it over to the sanding disc. We're going to round off the edges, round it off here, make it nice and neat, clean up all of the hammer marks, and then we're going to drill a 3/32 hole, which will accept the 3/32 inch rod that hooks to our handle back there, that bell crank. So I'll show blacksmithing that out probably tomorrow. But right now we're ready to weld this other bushing in. We've got it in nice and straight. I'm going to clean it up with a little carburetor cleaner. If I can find my rag. Rag's got to be around here somewhere. There she is. I'm just going to clean that up, make it nice, and I could tighten my jig up a little bit there, my holding fixture. Okay, that's nice and clean. All the filth has been removed. We're going to clean our welding rod once again. Dirty fingers have been all over it. And we're about ready to commence welding once again. Neutral flame going. Try to make short work of this. Preheat, always weld, then post heat. That way you stress relieve the weldment. What this is doing is we're just warming it all up evenly so that we don't shock the metal. If you just went in there and started welding away, you would have to have a torch. It's really hot. This way we don't shock the metal, and then after we weld it, we post heat it and then let it cool down gradually. Do a little tack right there, get the rod ready. And something tells me it's about ready to pop. Need a little more heat. There's one tack. Come on, baby, there's two tacks. I could actually weld that up without even using any rod. But I like to put the rod in, and then on an application like this, I can buff it down to whatever I need and know that I've still got a good weld in there. Now normally grinding on a weld is not acceptable. On something like this, we can sand that baby down to whatever we need. So I'm really cutting that edge of the bushing in. And we'll just post heat it, hold it at that temperature for a minute, and then kind of let it gradually cool down to a non-red state. And then we'll let her cool down gradually at room temperature. It's very important for 4130, especially structural members. You've got to really take your time, be careful, pay attention to what you're doing. Okay, we've got our little end bushings welded in, both ends. So now, you know, the drawings to the cub door, they're pretty vague. And they just show the rear, or the front and the rear pin rods sliding through just a piece of sheet metal back here. And you know, Cubs are notorious for having sloppy doors. You know, a brand new Cub, within a year the door is just all sloppy and you have trouble getting it to pin up, and it's just a mess. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've got a piece of 063 63 thousandths 4130 that I'm going to cut. Let's see, what is that? I'm going to cut it 5/8 wide, so that I can clean up the edges and get a real snug fit up inside of this tube here. And then we're going to bore for a 3/8 bushing. This is about an 063, 058, I'm not sure what bushing. We're going to bore for a bushing in there. We're going to weld that little baby right in there. So that pin will have 2 bushings to ride in and out on. Okay? And so that's what we're doing now. We're going to make a smooth track, bushed areas for that those pins to ride in and out of. And so I'm going to cut that on the bandsaw now. And then we'll bore for 3/8. Okay. I don't think you need to see me cut that on the bandsaw, so I'm just going to do it off camera. And now that that is cut, we'll take it over to the disc sander and clean the edges up and get a good fit. And now, well, first of all, when we're fitting this, we need to round off the corners so that it will fit flush on the bottom. This bend on this channel has a curve there, so we want to round that off and make sure it'll fit flush on the bottom. Now, we're going to send that baby down to the depths. This is a really snug fit right here. I'm going to send it down to the bottom, and we're going to find out where it comes to the bottom of that channel. Right about there, right about there. Alright. Now we're just going to square that up, mark her off. Alright, now before we cut that, we're going to find the absolute center there. And see, you can pretty much do that by sight. And million of them, but I can never find them. Probably all over there in the drawer, in the drawer, in the drawer. Let's see. That looks about like 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 sixteenths. 5 sixteenths. Looks like the middle. We're going to take that baby over there to the drill press, and we're going to center punch it, and we're going to clamp it down. We're going to drill that and bore it for 3/8 so that our bushing, our 3/8 bushing will go in there. Then we'll cut it off, do another one for the other end, and then weld the bushings in. Very important to center punch this little baby. So I need more light in here. I'm going to have to install a big light up there. I can't hardly see what's going on. Take your time finding your center punch mark. And that's all there is to that. I'm going to bore that baby out. Let me set up to do that. Okay, we're going to run a 15/64 pilot hole through there, and then 3/8. Now, boring 3/8, oh, Footerinsky, can get a little bit tricky here, and there is real potential to slice a gash right to the bone in your hand if you don't have that thing securely tightened down. Believe me, take it from an expert hand gasher. I've been there more times than I care to recount. But when you start breaking through the other side, that drill bit wants to hang and jerk it. If you're holding it in your hand, it'll jerk it out of your hand, and it becomes a saw, a meat cleaver. And before you know it, you can cut a hunk out of your hand. I mean, quicker than a minute can swim a dipper. Well, proceed slowly. Clean that hole up just a little bit. Like I was saying, we're going to clean that hole up just a bit. Get it ready for that bushing to go in there. Then go cut it off, and we're going to cut it off just a little bit oversized. About a 1/16 of an inch oversized. And then when now you know that once this gets welded in, your springs are in there for good. And it's real easy to start welding, and your springs lose their temper. So you've got to pull the springs back as far as you can get them, and soak them in a wet cloth, and then this way you can get in there with the torch, melt in that edge to the other edge quickly, get down on the bottom, that's where a lot of heat takes place, and just tack, and then you're done. Alright, let us see if our bush Orinsky will go in there. And of course it's going to take some cleaning up to get our bushing in there, but we'll get her done. And then once I get this one fitted and cut off a little bit oversized, we'll make the other one, and then we'll go to welding. And that little baby is ready to weld. Once you cut it, be sure and take it over to the sander. Remove all of the tooling marks off of that edge. We're going to weld, when we weld it, we'll weld the inside of the bushing right there only, and then ream it out with a 1/4 inch drill bit. And then it'll be ready to slip inside the channel and position and get ready to do all of our putting the springs in and putting the rods in and so forth. Now it's time to go over there, clean up that edge, round it off, and bore that one and have a identical part to this. That's what we're going to do now, off camera of course. Okay, yeah, these babies are ready to weld up. They're already press fit or hammer fitted into their little pieces of sheet metal. Now, get you a piece of tubing, stick it in your vise. This way the heat won't traumatize your vise and ruin the temper in your vise or cause it to break. I've broken enough vices in my time because I've just applied too much heat to them, and then those things will tend to break catastrophically on you. So I'm going to go set up the torch, and we'll weld those babies up and let them cool, clean them off, and start setting things up. Okay, we're ready to start welding. Now remember the 3 rules of welding 4130. Preheat, weld, and post-heat. Well, actually 4 rules. Preheat, weld, post-heat, and cool in a non-drafty area. Now this weld here, you could almost just weld the corners in, but I like to put a little This will really tax your skills here because you haven't got much edge distance. But with practice, you can learn how to do it. For someone that's new to welding, I would suggest build your parts oversize, weld it up, and then cut them down. That way you won't burn your edges off. Okay. It takes a lot of practice to be able to weld up something like that with the edges so close. Yeah, for a beginner or even an intermediate, I would suggest cut your parts oversized, weld your bushing in, and then trim them down to fit. That way you don't wind up with a messed up piece that you have to go build over again. Okay. We're going to take that little baby out. Alright. Let her cool down over there and put the other one in and careful, because you can burn the wazoo out of yourself before you even know it. Okay, so you've seen one, you don't need to see another one. Okay, we spoke a little bit yesterday about blacksmithing, and that's basically what we're doing here. We're going to take our stainless steel 1/4-inch rod, and we're going to heat and hammer out a flat back here. And then we're going to clean that flat up, round it off like this, so that if it ever gets crooked or cocked inside the channel, it won't tend to stick. It'll slide right off. But right about there, right in the middle of that arc or circle right there, we're going to drill a 3/32 hole to accept our stainless steel pull rods. So I'm going to set up the torch. We're going to just kind of hammer that out real quick. And by the way, stainless steel, we're going to do some welding on the stainless. Up here on the pin end, we're going to weld in a washer, which is going to be the piece that the springs will ride against. Okay, once again, the washer is welded on there. Our springs are inserted in there. They can't go anywhere back here because our little bushing is welded. Remember the bushing we just welded up? It's welded in back here to the channel. So as the pin is pulled, the washer compresses the springs, and when you release the handle, it'll snap back. And we're putting in some pretty heavy, for this kind of an application, some fairly heavy springs. But I want to have a good spring return, a good solid latch. I don't want that thing being able to float, and while you're doing aerobatics, the door to pop off. That'll scare the wazoo out of you. So anyway, we're going to set up the torch and we're going to hammer this one out. There's no real set rules as to how far back we're going to go. I'm probably going to aim for 1 inch, no more than 1 inch. So we'll just set her up in there and get her to a dull red or a cherry red. Keep in mind at all times where that flame is, because you can burn yourself very, very quickly before you know it. Take it from an expert on getting burned. Okay, we're just going to massage that baby into the shape. We're back in the flame. Do the other side. We're just going to keep massaging it until we've got it the way we want it. Going to take several trips back and forth. Once you weld that washer on, that area right there, the weldment is not stainless. So do some kind of rust preventative there. Of course, it's going to be initially it's going to be riding in a bed of grease, Well, eventually that grease will wear away, so maybe a little primer in that area. Now we're going to work those. We're going to massage that out. We're going to flatten it out and get it to take a little flat, a little spread there. Building a steel tube airplane there's a lot of blacksmithing in it, especially if you're making finger patches to fit around a cluster of tubes. That starts off, of course, with a flat piece of metal, and then you tack weld it and then heat it and massage it into shape, bend it around, form it. It's really a lot of fun, and you really get a sense of accomplishment after you see what it looks like once it's all welded up. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So that stress, we'll leave it a little bit, let it cool down, and we'll take it to the disc and belt sander and clean it up to the way we want it. Okay, now our little bushings have cooled and we've cleaned them up on the wire brush, cleaned all the scale off. Now it's time to run a 1/4 inch drill bit through them, clean them up so that the rods will freely float in and out. Not a lot of slop, but I'm going to go with the 7/32. Yeah, that'll clean it up. When you weld, you get some penetration in there and scale, and so it needs to be cleaned out. Those bushings they can't have any of that malarkey going on. So that was a 7/32. I'm going to go to a 15/64 next. Okay, now we'll go with our 1/4 inch. And of course we need to make sure that our rod flows freely, and it does. So I'll just do the other one. As you can see, there is quite a bit of work that goes into something as inconsequential perhaps as the door. Something my clients I used to have just couldn't understand, you know. What do you mean you've got 25 hours into a door? You know? But that's just the way it is. Okay, a little polishing on that and we'll be in good shape. Now I'm going to take that over to the belt sander right there and clean it up And then we'll drill the 3/32 holes. Okay, they're all ringed out. The rod pin is sliding in and out nice and easily on both of them. I'm going to take it over there to the carburetor cleaner and clean them up so that we don't have any filth on them when we go to welding. Now, be sure you really polish the edges, make them smooth, rounded. We don't want anything that might snag on anything in there. Now we're going to center punch our holes, and we're going to drill for 3/32. I'll center punching one of these babies because it's kind of offset. Can be a trick. And of course, can't already see what the Sam Hill's going on here. Stay. Marvelous. Footerinsky, come on. Don't do me this way, Mama. Daddy, don't slap me. It'd be helpful if I could see what I'm doing. Well, that's perfect. Just drop. See if we can break a bulb while we're at it. Hey, it survived. Cool. And now, on to more important things. And action.